I want to go talk to Peterson. Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest? The presence of Nazis and white supremacists assaulting people at your protest. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't like Nazis.
Then why are you?
Why were they here?
Well, how can I answer?
Are their views in alignment with yours?
At some point, you have to
That's
realize,
a foolish question. Look, if you want to know what my views are,
I've watched all of your videos. Yes.
including
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
then why would you ask such a question?
Because this is my interpretation of your videos.
Apparently,
That's
I
not-
wanted
All of the people who arranged the protest against you watched all of your videos.
It's like, do you want to
I have
disavow?
150 videos on YouTube.
No, your
You're
lectures, which sparked the
Okay,
debate.
okay.
Do
I
you
have
want to
150.
disavow the support
Could you let
of
me
white-
talk to her for a moment?
Don't call me that, please.
So, I have 150 lectures on YouTube. There's 500 hours of my views.
Do you really
If
think that
wanna
you're
find
worth
out
all
what
of
they
that
were-
time?
So look, I will answer your question, okay? I've studied Nazism for a very long time. It's been 4 decades, and I understand it very well. And I can tell you that there's some awful people lurking in the corners, and they're ready to come out. And if the radical left keeps pushing the way
That
it's
sounds
pushing,
very much like a
they're
threat.
going to come.
That sounds very much
It's
like
not
a
a
threat.
threat.
That sounds very much like a threat. Would you like to disavow the physical violence? Trans people were physically assaulted at this rally in your name. Would you like to disavow that violence?
Yes.
So you wish that didn't happen, and you want to,
Absolutely.
and I'm going to post this online that you would
That's
like
fine.
people to not to be more accommodating of trans people and people of color at your events in future.
I would
I'm
like
a
there
person
to
of
be
color.
no
Listen,
violence.
I'm a person of color, and I felt very accommodated here. I felt like my voice. Thank you
I'm
very much.
also former Muslim, and I feel like this guy is
I'm a
the
person
best.
of color.
I
There are
love
many
his
Muslims
videos.
You wanted to
all over
disavow.
Greenland.
You wanted to disavow, and this is the disavowal. I am not an advocate of violence. I'm speaking out the way I'm speaking out because I think this is a route to no violence. And violence is lurking, and you can say that that sounds like a threat.
There was
It's
no
not a
violence at
threat.
our protest, though. There was violence at your protest. So what does that say about our views?
It's not my
That's
protest.
violence.
You know,
I agree.
asking me continually freighted questions isn't very helpful
Cause a
if you
riot,
actually want to have a
it's our
dialogue.
fault.
You have no idea if I'm your enemy. You have no idea about me.
You won't
know
use my
nothing about
pronouns, so I'm pretty sure you're my enemy. Yes.
Yeah, well, I know you think that, but I don't believe that using your pronouns is going to do you any good in the long run. I think it'll do quite the contrary.
What the?
Is that your medical
Like,
opinion?
what, is that your medical opinion? Like, you
I mean,
are
I
aware
don't-
that non-binary people are valid in the American Psychological
about
Association.
non-binary
Is that your opinion?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's about non-binary pronouns.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I'm,
No, it's not.
I'm saying that that's
Did
what
you
I'm
come to the
about.
rally? Were you there when I spoke?
I've been here for this whole thing.
Okay, well, I don't know that. It's a genuine question. Look, I think that's what's happening is that we're pushing over a line we shouldn't cross. The newest legislation is requiring people to use.
But you are aware that that's being put in place so that we can't get fired. We need to be written into the Canada human rights legislation, or we can be fired for our gender identity.
I'm not aware of that.
Well, then why'd you make a fucking video about it? I've been denied housing as a trans person. These rights would protect me.
Denied housing?
I've been denied housing.
From the state or for the open market? So have you been denied housing, like, from the government?
It's illegal
From
either
the
way
government?
if we had
From the
human
government?
rights.
From the government?
I'm not
or
a-
have you tried to get a house like everybody else and they said, no, you're weird, you can't work? No, if the state's done that, that's a problem.
they said-
but if someone doesn't want to live with you, that's their right.
They said, no, you're
really
trans.
not sure how you
So
would-
no, if I had human rights, that wouldn't have fucking happened.
As far
Yeah,
as
you're
I'm
weird.
concerned,
I don't want to live
as-
with
As
schizophrenic
far as
people.
I'm
I don't want to live
concerned,
with people with
that's a
bipolar.
terrible
I
thing.
don't want to live with
It's too bad that that's happened.
So
to
you don't want us to, but you don't want us to have protections in the human rights bill that will allow me to have employment,
I don't
allow
want-
me to have housing security,
want-
allow me to have medical care. That's what this is about.
That's
It's
what
not
you
about
think it's
infringing
about.
on your rights or making you learn a new
I
fucking pronoun.
I don't think that's what it's about. What evidence do you have that attempting to transform the way that people use pronouns is going to produce a positive effect on
Because
society?
are you aware that there is a trans boy who killed himself in psychiatric care recently because he was continuously being misgendered by his care workers?
And that is my precise problem.
And there have been multiple recorded instances of trans people killing themselves because they are not being integrated into society. We are not looking for special treatment. We are looking to be able to integrate ourselves into society. And if you refuse to refer to us by our pronouns, which is not allowed to ask, singular they pronouns go all the way back to Shakespeare. It's not a new thing. If you refuse to let us integrate ourselves into society, you create alienation that results in suicide. We are in a suicide epidemic right now. What are you contributing to this as a psychologist?
Man, you know, you're almost impossible to talk to. You're so full of rhetoric that it's impossible to listen to you.
The feeling
I would
is
be more than
mutual.
happy to listen to you.
Yeah,
I didn't say I was devoid of rhetoric. And yes, actually, I don't really think I am a rhetorician. Just so you know that. And you know, like, it's very hard to listen to you. I mean, it's very hard to attend to you
Because it's-
you rattle on in your
it's-
with your ideological speech.
It's not
And I
ideological.
can't even hear
It's personal. That's what
It's not personal. You haven't said a personal thing.
I'm
Everything
talking
you've
about
said
something
so
that
far.
affects my community.
It's just that when you say the things that you say, it tends, even if you didn't mean it to, it attracts people like neo-Nazis and fascists because they see an avenue in what you're saying to do what they want, even if that's not what you meant. They see an avenue in your in the idea of like a more abstract form of free speech. They see an avenue in that to continue to spread their hateful ideology and to make more people hateful. So that's why the Nazis come here. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that's why that was.
I'm perfectly aware of that.
I have a calm, rational question.
Okay.
I won't get emotional with you. Who is this legislation harming? Who is
Harming anybody who wants to use their own words.
So in what capacities? Be specific.
Look, it's important that people are able to use their own words
Okay.
because that's how we think. And if
So-
the government starts legislating how we think, and
So
how
if
we
I
speak,
wanted
we're
to
gonna
call
be-
you
Hey,
she,
look, are you going to let me
if,
say?
no, I'm playing off of what you're saying. If I wanted to call you she and her and miss, because
I
that's
don't
my
care
freedom of
what you call
speech,
me.
and if everyone just called you that all the time, and that was the only thing.
Call me. Can't you tell?
I think that you don't care because you've never had to face that, and it's a common trend among people who have never had to face like transgender-related discrimination that you think it's not a big deal because you don't have to deal
I
with
didn't say I
it.
didn't think it was a big deal. I said I didn't care if people called me that.
Access to public institutions, but it does prevent us from accessing healthcare. And it does prevent us from accessing other services.
I'm not arguing about your rights.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. These things about our rights.
Legislation for trans
I'm sorry. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you realize that right now, if you were to kill a trans person, because only for the sole reason that they're trans, that would not be considered a hate crime. Sure, they could be convicted of murder, but not of a hate crime. And that's what this
I don't
bill.
see what
that's
this-
what.
what-
That's
Actually,
what
back
this
in the States, they can use a transgenic defense
Yeah,
in almost
yeah.
all of the United States and get off by claiming temporary insanity because they were freaked out by the trans person.
I am not claiming for a moment that people who don't fit into standard and traditional sexual categories or sexual identity categories
This is about
don't
gender,
face
though.
all sorts of trouble. They do. I just don't think that this is the way to fix it. In fact, I
You
think
do not think that a law that legislates protections from discrimination for trans people
not
is a
this
way
law.
to, you do not think that.
That's right. I don't think.
Have you
that's
read
what I
the
mean.
laws are intentionally
To
worded?
bring as many
Most
people-
laws involving
cause
human
as
rights.
much trouble to as many people as possible.
What would we gain? What would we gain from
There is a
that?
conspiracy of intent.
I didn't say it was a conspiracy.
You think there is a concentrated effort behind these bills in order to specifically make the lives of people worse, and that's why we create human rights legislation to make it.
I think
harder
that
for
people.
to
I
live
think
their
that people
lives.
often do things to make other people's lives worse. Don't you?
Well, clearly, as an example of this rally.
I am probably the most fervent anti-statist you will ever meet. I am an anarchist, and I do not believe that anyone who writes legislation has the interest of anybody but themselves and their special interest groups at heart. So don't come at me saying that I want to suck off the nipple of the government, okay? Because that's not who I am. What I'm interested is in that people I love are being assaulted, are being killed, are being discriminated against, are being kicked out onto the street, are freezing to death in the winter because
I'm
they're being
against
denied
that too.
shelter. And I feel.
But pronouns are too much to ask for you to show solidarity towards those
Can I just have a
people.
moment?
Sorry.
Look, we agreed that this is a thing that's happening. We agreed that it's a reprehensible thing that's happening.
Okay, sure. Let's agree on that.
I mean, I don't think that would be controversial to most people. I mean,
agree, I agree.
Apparently, some
People
people
here
think.
was
Apparently, to some people, we're freaks because we can't have families or whatever. But what okay, whatever. Maybe that's not something you agree with. I don't know. I'm not going to put words in
Definitely
your
not
mouth in that
something I
regard.
agree with.
What I fail to understand is how you honestly feel, in your expert opinion, as both an educator, as an educated person, that not calling somebody by a pronoun that has been used to refer to,
No,
to
I think
individual
it's
people.
legislating it. It's legislating it as a necessity that I have an objection to.
Okay, so if there was this legislation was not on the table, if this legislation fails, let's say, if this is removed, you would be totally fine referring to me with they them pronouns.
Probably not they and them.
Probably not they and them. Why is
No.
that?
Well, because I don't think it's a tenable solution.
A
I don't think
solution
it's
to what?
I don't think it's a solution to the problem that you're trying to solve. I mean, it's not.
You
Look,
don't think it's basic
not
respect.
that easy to track that. I know that's how you do it.
You were literally saying
You can make up a word and make that a child's name, and you would refer to them by that name. Why is it different for a pronoun?
Well, it's different because it's different. Because
No, it's just as
you were
important.
just asked.
It's different because it's a pronoun for a lot of reasons.
So you
I
were
mean, one of
just-
the reasons it's different is that pronouns turn out to be very difficult to change. They're closed linguistic.
Which is why we're using they them pronouns, which has historical continuity.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
It is in the English language. It's in the Oxford English Dictionary.
Years and years and years. It's nothing new.
As an educator, okay, hold on.
Can I say
Sorry,
one
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
Elaine? You were asked, would you refer to me using they them pronouns? You said, no, I wouldn't. When asked why, you said, because I don't think it's a solution. When I brought up then it was basic respect and so on, what you said was, oh, I wouldn't do it if I was like coerced or whatever you said. Somebody literally just asked, would you do this for me? And you said, no, I would not show you that respect. I would
That isn't
not
what I
extend
said.
that amount of dignity to you.
That's not what I
Yes,
said.
you said
None of
You said that you would not use they them pronouns for a person.
Nobody
Yes, I
asked.
did say that.
Nobody
Which is-
asked anything about if I
Denying
came
the
like
basic human
with a club and asked you to like use certain pronouns
makes
to
you
refer
think-
to me.
what makes
but
you-
I just asked, would you refer to me if it wasn't for this law? And I asked you to refer to me with they them pronouns. Would you? And your answer was no.
Not
So
if I was
concerned-
compelled to.
No, that's
But
not
we're
what
saying
you
if you
said.
weren't.
You just said no, and then when I started asking you about, you said it wasn't a solution. When you were asked, what is it not a solution to? You said something vague. We said it's about basic respect, and then you said not if I was compelled to. So no, when you were just asked, as a matter of respect, in fact, would you refer to a trans person who asked you to use they them pronouns, a pronoun which has a several
Not if I was
100-year
compelled to.
historical
But
Not if I was
that's not what we're talking about.
Yes, it is because it's
We just
legislation.
we're saying if it wasn't legislation.
legislation.
I've got to
mind
stop,
the
guys.
legislation.
Look,
Never mind
there's
the
too
legislation.
many of you.
Okay, one simple
I've had
question.
enough. Sorry, I
Dr.
can't do this
Peterson,
anymore.
one simple question.
No, I'm done.
I thought we were statistically irrelevant.
If it was
Well, yeah,
not
I mean,
for the
like,
law,
I don't
and a
exist.
trans person asked you, would you please refer to me by they and them pronouns? Would you refer to them by those pronouns?
Might depend on how they asked.
So no.
Why do you have
Literally
the authority
said,
to determine
please
whether or
refer
not
to me
there
by
Why
was
do
a-
I have the
Why
authority
do you
to
have the
determine what I say?
Why do
What
you have,
kind of question
Why
is
do you have
that?
the authority? Let me finish. Why do you have the authority to determine whether or not an individual is worthy of you using their pronouns? Like, if I asked you, would you please use they them pronouns for me? What?
It would depend on what I
What
thought of your
hoops
motivation.
do you want us to jump through?
Those are
What
my
do you-
pronouns. Those are my
There's no
pronouns.
motivation.
No, I know. No one ever has any motivation.
We're
are
trying
my
to
pronouns and I want
survive.
to be-
Politics are a product of our lives and us trying to live in this world. We're not trying to live in
that's
this world
partial.
as a product of our
you want me to
politics.
send you
I was
flowers?
apolitical before I came out as trans. I got into politics because I needed to survive, to advocate against people like you, no offense. I have one quick question. Okay, so they them pronouns are written into the Oxford English Dictionary, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It's actually the word of the year this year, and it does have historical continuity all the way back to Shakespeare. It is objectively an English word, singular they pronouns, grammatically correct. Do you think that you can choose to not respect something that is in the English language as a professor, as an academic,
think that I can
you are
choose
going
to do that?
you are
Absolutely. I am choosing
but
to
you're
do
wait,
that.
you're ignoring rules of the English language to go out of your way to disrespect students.
That's your opinion, and I'm not going
It
to
is my opinion.
disrespect students.
We're saying it's disrespectful
Anyway,
to
I'm
us.
sorry.
You don't get to decide what's disrespectful to us.
Quit smiling, bitch. What you want?
Yeah, so they did grab me and put me in and try to punch me. They're the person right over there with the black lipstick.
That's assault right there.
Officer, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything that happened.
There's no reason to be
I didn't see anything.
First of all, the other people there over there shouting and stuff.
Yeah, nothing happened. I didn't see anything. Nothing happened. I didn't see anything.